All right, y'all, today's video with Honda Builds and Bikes build series. We've got a front differential pulled out of a 2000 Honda Foreman 450. We're gonna go through this thing and put some bearings and seals in it. It's already cleaned up really nice. As you can see on the back side, we like to polish our cases up and make them look good. For a 2000 model front diff case, I'd say that looks mighty fine, minus the little spots I can't get with the wire brush. I'll have to do a little sandblasting to fine tune it, but that's okay. We've got it where we want it so far, just to make sure everything's good. It's a healthy housing. This video is about pulling the feared needle bearing from up underneath the pinion gear. I've developed a method here that I believe is one of the best that I've found. Upon doing a little research, there's not really a video quite like this, so I'm here to make this to try and help everybody. All right, we're gonna get straight into it. When you pull the pinion gear and the pinion bearing from out of the housing, obviously you'll need this special tool to get this nut right here out. Once you've got this nut unstaked and removed, you'll be able to come from the back side, and you do not want to, damage the pinion gear here, but you want to take a chisel or a punch of some sort and get onto the back side of the gear, and you want to beat this bearing and pinion gear out of the housing. Once you've got that pinion gear and bearing beat out of the housing, you'll be left with a little needle bearing. That's its race right here. There's its cage, and there's all the little rollers that goes to it. I can't tell you what yours will look like, but this is what mine looked like. It came out in pieces. I was able to get the cage out, all the rollers out. Then I was stuck with the clip that goes around the needle bearing, and I was stuck with the outer race. All right, my method here. I'll take a drill and a drill bit. You can see here, I've got my drill and my drill bit, and I'll go straight down into this housing here, and I'll put a little indentation on top of the wire or the clip that goes around the needle bearing. All right, once I've done that, I'll take my pick, wherever my pick is. Here's my pick. I'll take my pick and I'll stick down in there, and I'll grab that little indentation in the wire slash clip that I've made, and I'll wiggle it to the side. And I'll keep working that indentation back and forth until I can see movement in the clip. Once I see movement in the clip, I'll then move it to one side. I'll take my drill and my drill bit, and I'll put another indentation in the clip slash wire, and I'll move it again. And basically what you want to do is you want to work this clip over. Once you've got this clip worked over until you can see the very end of the clip pop up, you're going to want to try to get underneath the end of that clip with a pick, and you're going to want to try to pick up on the end of that clip there and pry up. Once you've got a good end of that clip pried up, you just know you're in the money, as long as you can get that clip and grab it with some pliers and pull it the rest of the way out. The clip's gonna look something like that. I pried the end of it up and made an L shape there. I grabbed it with the end of these needle nose pliers, and I was able to pull it straight out. It looks just like a paper clip. It literally will cause you the biggest headache in the world, but you have to take a step back and see what you can do to find a method that works. This is what works for me. I've got the clip out. Once I've got the clip out, I'll take my pit spur from Harbor Freight, slide hammer and bearing puller. I'll open the kit up to show y'all what the inside looks like. We've got a couple of different attachments here for different size bearings. This works well for pulling bearings out of cases when you're rebuilding engines. It works really well for snatching axle bearings out of axle tubes on solid rear axle Hondas. So we've chose the right side puller, or the right size puller. We've installed the puller inside the bearing race here. You can see on the back side where the feet coming from the puller have expanded. You grab one side with the wrench, grab the other side, and you tighten the puller. This shaft expands on these feet, and it causes the feet to expand inside the bearing race. You're going to want to choose a good penetrating oil. I choose Kimball Midwest Torque CB because it literally like bubbles. It literally blasts the corrosion. I can't explain any more better than that it just blasts the corrosion. You can see it having a chemical reaction with the corrosion, and it works really well for this application. Of course, we did have a torch handy just in case we needed one. We applied a little bit of heat to the housing here on the inside. We'll flip it over. We'll apply a little bit of heat to the back side. We don't want to put too much heat, but we do want to apply a little bit of heat to try to get the aluminum housing to expand. I had this aluminum housing put in the vise. I had the puller installed on the bearing. You can see where it seats in the housing there, and it's a slide hammer. So I grab the slide, I slide it out till it hits the end. 3 good blows from the slide hammer with a little heat and a good corrosion, a good penetrating oil or a corrosion blasting formula. With the clip out, this bearing popped right out with ease, and we are now ready to continue to clean up the housing and further install the new bearings and seals. We'll Honda bond the cases, put the differential back together, and we'll have a good 25-year-old remanufactured differential that'll be just as good as it was the day it was sold. So I just wanted to share my experience here. We've got a slide hammer and bearing puller set there, a chisel and a punch to get the pinion gear and the bearing out. Once you've got the special nut removed from above it, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Obviously, you've got your bearings in the side of your differential, the seals, all your hardware, your cap. But that's the trouble right there, is getting that clip out. Once you've gotten that clip out, if you have access to a tool like this, you can get that bearing race out and you can replace it. And I promise you, if you're able to do so while rebuilding your front differential, you'll be real happy that you did so. Because of ease of operation, it'll be really smooth. You put the correct gear oil in there, you'll just be overall happier that you went the extra mile and replaced that bearing. Because I've seen a lot of people just let it ride. They'll replace the upper bearing because they can get that out, but they can't get that bearing out. Too much of a trouble. Give it a shot. Here's my method at doing it. Once again, this is Honda Builds and Bikes back at you again. I'll see y'all on the next one.